Hello student, today we will study new chapter in history, social science history, chapter number 9, which is traders, kings and pilgrims. Yes, in our previous session already we study about our archaeological site. Our archaeology find various things during excavation. For example, find potteries, plates, bowls, coins, burial sites, etc. These are some historical sources. Through these historical sources, we come to know about our history, our ancient time. So here in this chapter started with the example of Jagini. Jagini is a girl. When she went to market, she saw various things like she visited in the village place. She loved to see the marketplace. She touched and feel the pots, pans and shiny steel and bright plastic buckets, clock, printed and brilliant floral designs. Yes, in our marketplace also we saw a lot of things there. So through this chapter we come to know about different traders, how they done their business in a various place. They sell variety of things to us. So here we study about ancient time. Through this chapter we study about how people do business. How do you think it reached this place in ancient time, these things? So how to find out about trade and traders of ancient time? As you know that in our India, if we talk about the subcontinent of Asia, here many traders like Arabian traders, Greek traders, they came for the business purpose. So through this chapter, we come to know about the trade of business, trade of India. If we talk about South India, in ancient time, South India was famous for gold, spices, especially for pepper. We are talking about black pepper and precious stones like diamond. Yes, South India is very famous for its spices. Many traders were coming India to purchase the spices. For example, black pepper, cardamom, clove. Here, if we talk about precious stone, yes, we also sell out precious stones in previous time. Pepper was particularly valued in Roman Empire, so much so that it was known as a black gold. Yes, because in the trading business we get gold coins from the Greek traders or the Arabian traders, so much so that it was known as a black gold. So traders carried many of these goods to Rome. So Rome in ships across the sea and by land in caravans. There must have been quite a lot of trade, as many Roman gold coins have been found in South India. Yes, already through the newspaper we come to know about gold coins we found from the different temples of South India. So through this chapter, here we study about South Indian culture. For example, here we study about the South Indian poem, which is from the Sangam literature. We can find the evidences of trade in the Sangam poems. Here is the one example describe the good brought in Puhar. Puhar is the city of ancient India, an important port of the east coast. Here we give you one poem. Through this poem we come to know about the trades of India. Swift prancing horses by sea in ships, bells of black pepper in carts, James and gold born in the Himalaya, sandalwood born in the western hill, the pearl of the southern seas and corals from the eastern oceans, and yield of the Ganga and crops from the Kaveri. Here we are talking about Ganga to Kaveri, northern India to southern part of India. Foodstuff from Sri Lanka and pottery from Myanmar and other rare and rich imports. Here at that time we are doing import business, means we are selling various things to foreign country. As well as here we study about traders who came to India to purchase various things. They purchased from us various things like silk, they purchased from us black pepper, clove, cardamom, various spices. Traders explores several sea routes and some of these follow the coast. They follow the coastal areas. There were other across the Arabian Sea and the Bay of Bengal, where sailors took advantages of monsoon wind to cross the seas more quickly. Yes, at the time of monsoon season, generally they came to India. So, if they wanted to reach the western coast of the subcontinent from East Africa or Arabia, they chose to sail with the southwest monsoon, and steady ship had to be built for this long journey. For this long journey, they sailed their boat and they came to India. Here we study about new point, that is new kingdoms along the coast. So here we study about different kinds of kings. The southern half of the subcontinent is marked by a long coastline and with hilly, plateau part and river valley. So here among the river valley, that the Kaveri is the most fertile part. Here we are talking about South India. So here we are talking about the different minister. Minister means a chief. Chief and kings who control the river valley and the coast to become rich and more powerful. Here we are talking about ancient times. So at that time the chief and kingdoms means different kings who ruled over the coastal areas. As well as here we study about the Sangam literature. Sangam poems mention the Movendar. What is mean by Movendar? Movendar, this is a Tamil word which means three chief, used for the head of the three ruling families. We are talking about three ruling families, the Cholas, Cheras and Pandyas. In detail we study about these three chiefs. So here through this part we come to know about these three heads. These three ruling family, the Cholas, Cheras and Pandyas, who become powerful in South India around 2300 years ago. Each of the three chiefs had two centers of power, one inland and one on the coastline. Of these 6 cities, 2 were very important. Here already we study about Puhar through the Sangam poem. Puhar or Kaveri Pattinam, the port of the Cholas, and the Madurai, the capital of the Pandyas. These are the major cities of, they started trading business through the port. The chief did not collect regular taxes, but instead they demanded and received gifts from the people. They also went on military and collect tributes from neighboring area. They kept some of the wealth and distribute the rest among their supporters, including members of their families, soldiers and poets. Many poets whose compositions are found in the Sangam collection composed poem in praise of chief. Chief means a minister, who often reward them with a precious stones, golds, horses, elephants, chariots and fine clothes. Yes, when they praise their chief or their minister, at that time they get gift from the king or the minister. Around 200 years later, a dynasty known as Satavahana became very powerful in Western India. So, the most important ruler of Satavahana was Gautamiputra Sri Satakarni. We know about him from the inscription composed on behalf of his mother. Already we study about different inscriptions, stone inscription through the Ashoka, the emperor, great king of Ashoka. Also we find various stone inscriptions. So here also we talk about the stone inscription. So Gautami, Balashri, he and other Satvahana rulers were known as the lord of the Dakshinapath. Dakshinapath means southern part of India. Literally the route leading to the south, which was also used as the name for the entire southern region. He sent his army to the eastern, western and the southern coast. So here, through this part, we come to know about new kings along with their coastlines. Okay. So after that, as you know that many traders who came to India to purchase silk, spices. So after that, new point is the story of the Silk Route. Yeah, the rich, glossy and colors of silk and its smooth texture make it a highly valued fabric in most of the society. Here we are talking about silk fabric. Who produced this silk fabric? First of all, China will introduce silk fabric to the world. But after that, our India also started selling this kind of fabric. Making silk is a complicated process. For silk had to be extracted from the cocoon of silkworm. This is a different kind of insect and spun into thread and then woven into cloth. Yes, already you saw this kind of cloth. It's a very smooth and silky structure. Technique of making silk were first invented in China, which is around 7,000 years ago. And while the method remains a closely guarded secret for thousands of years, and some people from China who went to distant land on foot or horseback and camel carried silk with them. The path, here we are talking about the path of Silk Route. The path they followed, they came to be known as the Silk Route. Yes, many traders who want to purchase silk from the India. Sometimes Chinese rulers sent gift of silk to ruler of Iran and West Asia. And from there, the knowledge of silk spread further the west part. Around 2000 years ago, wearing silk became the fashion amongst the ruler and rich people in Rome. Yes, generally Rome attract from the silk. It was very expensive at that time as it had to be bought all the way from China. And as it had to be bought all the way from the China along the dangerous road through mountain, desert area, people living along the route often demanded payment for allowing traders to pass through it. Yes, they came to India, they came to China through the dangerous route to purchase silk. So here we are talking about Silk Route and its branches. Some kings tried to control the large portion of the route. This was because they could benefit from the tax. So they get the benefit of taxes. Tributes and gifts were bought by the traders or the travelers traveling along the route. In return, they often protected the traders who passes through their kingdoms from attacks by robbers. Yes, kings also protect this kind of traders from the robbers. Here we are talking about Silk Route. The best known from the ruler who controlled the Silk Route were Kushanas, who ruled over Central Asia and Northwest India around 2000 years ago. Their two major center power were Peshawar, now it is in Pakistan, and Mathura. Takshila was also included their kingdom. During their rule, a branch of the Silk Route extended from Central Asia down to the sea route and the mouth of the river Indus, from where silk was shipped westward to the Roman Empire. Yes, in this way, Roman people came here and they sailing their boat. They faced many difficulty to purchase this silk. The Kushanas were among the earliest rulers of the subcontinent to issue gold coins. These were used by the traders along the sea route. In this way, all the business people, traders, they get gold coins from the Roman and Greek people. People follow various religions. So here in ancient time, kings or rulers, they follow various religions. Like here at that time, here we study about Buddhism, the spread of Buddhism. The most famous Kushana ruler was Kanishka, and these rulers who ruled around 1900 years ago. So they spread Buddhism. How they spread Buddhism? Through this chapter we come to know about. Here we are talking about their poet. Ashwaghosh, a poet who composed a biography of the Buddha. The biography, the Buddha Charitra. This is the biography which is wrought about Gautam Buddha. Who wrote this? Ashwaghosh. So, the Buddha Charitra lived in his court. He is a very famous poet of the ruler whose name is Kanishka, the Kushana ruler. So, here he organized a Buddhist council where scholars meet and discuss important matter. Here we are talking about Ashwaghosh, a poet who composed a biography of the Buddha. The Buddha Charitra lived in his court. Ashwaghosh and the Buddhist scholar now begin writing in Sanskrit. At that time they are writing with a Prakrit language, Vedic Sanskrit. They now started writing in a Sanskrit language. A new form of Buddhism known as Mahayana Buddhism now developed in this period. This had two distinct features. Earlier the Buddha's presence was shown in a sculpture by using certain signs. For example, in this in our book, they give you the picture of a tree. His attainment of enlightenment was shown by the sculpture of the peepal tree, but they can't show you the sculpture of Buddha. They just pray to this tree. Now, statues of the Buddha were made, and many of these were made in Mathura. So, from the Mathura, we get the sculpture of Gautam Buddha, while others were made in Takshila. The second change was belief of Bodhisattvas. This was supposed to be a person who had attained enlightenment. Enlightenment means knowledge. Once they attain enlightenment, they could live in a complete isolation. Isolation means they meditate alone and meditate at peace. However, instead of doing that, they remain in the world to teach and help other people. Now they believe, why will you alone and get knowledge from the God? But now they started spreading their message of Buddhism to other people. So in this way you saw how Buddhism will spread in society. The worship of Bodhisattvana became very popular and spread throughout the Central Asia, China, and later to Korea and Japan also, in other part of Asia and other countries. Here we are talking about Buddhism. So, Buddhism spread to the western and southern India, where dozens of caves were hollowed out of hills for the monk to live in. Who made these caves? One question arises in our mind. So, some of these caves were made on the order of king and queens, other by merchant and sometimes farmers also. These were often located near passes through the Western Ghat and road connecting prosperous port on the coast with city in the Deccan ran through these passes. What is meant by Deccan part? Deccan part means the eastern and western Ghat of India. So traders probably halted in these caves, monasteries during their travelling time. And Buddhism also spread south and eastward to Sri Lanka, Myanmar, Thailand and other part of Southeast Asia, includes Indonesia also. In this way, you saw Buddhism was spread. The older form of Buddhism known as Theravada Buddhism was more popular in this area. So here, after this, we talk about some pilgrims. Here, we start new point. Our new point is the quest of the pilgrims. So first you try to understand what is pilgrim. Pilgrims are man and woman who undertake journey to holy places in order to offer worship. Here, as traders journey to distant land in caravans and ships. Pilgrims often travel with them. So here travel with them. So they are doing travel through the coastal area, through the caravans. So in this way they suffer a lot of problems. So here through this we come to know about the life of traders. The best known of this are the Chinese Buddhist pilgrims. First we try to understand first Chinese pilgrim whose name is Fa Xian, who came to the subcontinent around which is about 1600 years ago. Then second pilgrim from the China whose name is Xuanzang, who came around 1400 years ago, and the third pilgrim I King, who came about 50 years after Xuanzang. They came to visit places associated with the life of the Buddha. They tried to learn about Buddhism as well as famous monasteries. They visited various areas of subcontinent of Asia to learn about Buddhism. Each of these pilgrims left an account of his journey. Means they wrote about their journey. They wrote of the danger they encountered on their travel, which often took years, of the country and the monasteries that they visited in India, and the books they carried back. Here first we try to understand about Xuanzang, who took the land road back to China through the northwest and Central Asia. He carried back with him the statue of Buddha, which is made of gold and silver. Then he took some statues of Buddha which is made up of sandalwood also. Over 600 manuscripts loaded on the back of 20 horses. Over 50 manuscripts were lost when the boat on which he was crossing the Indus capsized. Means when they are crossing Indus Valley civilization or Indus river, at that time he left or he lost 50 manuscripts. He spent the rest of his life translated the remaining manuscript from Sanskrit to China. Means they spread the Buddhism through the India. So here they give the example through the paragraph how Fa Xian returned to China, which kind of problems they face while their journey. Fa Xian began his journey back home from the Bengal, the Bay of Bengal. He boarded a ship belongs to some merchant. They had barely travelled for 2 days when they were caught in a storm, a big storm. The merchant began throwing their merchandise, means their goods or luggage, overboard so as lighten the load and save their lives. But Fashion threw away his much personal belongings, means his personal things, but clutched to his books and statues of the Buddha that he had collected. He can't throw it. He can't throw his book, whatever he write here, or whatever his experience he wrote in this book, or the statue of Buddha. Finally, the storm subsided after 13 days. This is how he described the sea experience. The sea itself, it boundless in extent. So, through this paragraph, we come to know about how pilgrims like Fashion face lot of problems. But then also, he gave a lot of information about Buddhism, or he spread the information about Buddhism. Now we talk about Nalanda. Nalanda is the ancient university, which is, if we talk about Nalanda University, it's an ancient university which spread Buddhism. First, Kumar Gupta, who established this university around in 5th century. And in this university, this is a unique center to Buddhist learning. Many pilgrims, they visited this university and they learned lot of things in ancient time. Xuanzang and other pilgrims spent time studying in Nalanda University. Now, this university, this is the place of Bihar, the most famous Buddhist monasteries of this period, of the period. This is how he described it. The teachers are men of the highest ability and talent. They follow the teaching of the Buddha in all sincerity. The rules of the monasteries are very strict and everybody has to follow them. Yes, this is a kind of university. Nowadays you saw many university, but ancient time. We are talking about ancient time. So Nalanda is a very famous university of India. Discussions are held throughout the day, and the old and the young mutually help one another. Learned men from different cities came here to settle their doubts, and gatekeeper asked new entrants difficult questions. Who get admission in this university? It's a basic question arise in our mind. They are allowed to enter only after they have been able to answer this question, which is asked by gatekeeper. 7 or 8 out of every 10 are not able to answer, means 2 or 3 persons are getting admission in this university and they learn about Buddhism. In this way, we study about Nalanda University. We get knowledge about Nalanda University. Here, the beginning of Bhakti. So first you try to understand what is Bhakti. The Bhakti comes from the Sanskrit term Bhaj, meaning to divide or share. This suggests the two-way relationship between the deity and the devotee. Bhakti is directly towards the Bhagavat, which is often translated as God, but also means one who possesses and share bhag, literally good fortune or bliss. Yes, the devotee known as the Bhakta and the Bhagavata share his or her chosen deity's bhag. So in this way we describe Bhakti. So here this was also the time when the worship of certain deities, means especially here we are, which become a central figure of later Hinduism. Here people believe This deities includes Shiva, Vishnu, the god Vishnu, and the goddesses such as Durga. People believe in different gods. So, here these deities were worshipped through bhakti. People believe in bhakti. An idea that became very popular at this time. Bhakti is generally understood as a person's devotion. Devotion means their shraddha or astha to his or her chosen deity. Anybody, whether rich or poor, belongs to the so-called high or low society or the caste. Man or a woman could follow the path of bhakti. The idea of bhakti is present in Bhagavad Gita. Here we are talking about Bhagavad Gita, which is our holy book of Hinduism, which is included in Mahabharata also. In this, Krishna the god asked Arjuna, his devotee and his friend also, to abandon all the dharmas and take refuge in him, as only he can set Arjuna free from every evil. Means God will protect the devotee. This form of worship gradually spread to the different part of the Asia or our country. Those who follow the system of bhakti emphasize devotion and the individual worship of a god or the goddess, rather than the performance of elaborate sacrifices. Already we discussed about different sacrifices in ancient time, but nowadays people believe in different god or the deities. According to this system of belief, if a devotee worship the chosen deity with a pure heart, the deity will appear in the form of which he or she may desire. So, the deity could be thought as a human being with a good karmas, human being, lion or any other form. Once this idea gained or acceptance, artists made beautiful images of these deities. Nowadays you saw in temple various images of God, and we also pray to our God. Now, because the deities were special, these images of the deities were often placed within a special homes, places that they describe as a temple. Nowadays you saw various temples in India. So, bhakti inspired from the best expression in art, sculpture, poetry, architecture. In this way, through this chapter, we study about Hinduism, Buddhism, as well as we study about the different pilgrims like Fashion, I King, Xuanzang. At last, they give you the information about Christianity, how Christianity will develop in Asian part. About 2000 years ago, Christianity emerged in West India or a West Asia. Jesus Christ was born in Bethlehem, which was then a part of a Roman Empire. Christ's teaching were that he was a savior of the world. He also taught people to treat other with a love and trust other just as they themselves wanted to be treated. So, in this way, in our India also you saw many people follow Christianity. Their holy book is a Bible. So, in their Bible they give message of Christianity. So, in our India you saw various religions like Buddhism, Jainism, Christianity, Hinduism, Islam. So, that's why we call India is a multicultural country. Thank you.